Peace. I'm gonna try to stay focused while I'm doing this, but yeah. Greetings to all, peace to all. I wanted to make this video. Let's give an honor to source, the Creator, the Most High, for making all these things possible. Whatever your higher power is, let's give it honor. Let's give it honor. But gratitude. Happy Sunday. What was I gonna get at? Y'all may hear the rain in the background. It's raining a lot, but I feel like I still can get this topic off. Kind of been wanting to talk about this for a while now because it's on the topic of mental health that I've always said is going to be made very apparent here in these coming days, and I've been seeing a lot of just how things are going to really uncover, or how we uncover the importance of our mental, spiritual, and physical and emotional well-being, and doing what's necessary, in a holistic way, or an approach to make sure we're showing up better for ourselves, and therefore it has a ripple effect on everyone else. This topic that I want to speak about, multiple personality disorders. And if you're not familiar with it, you can look it up. There's going to be different perspectives from it. There's going to be different, my approach is going to be completely different. It's going to be intellectual, but also more emotionally, more lean towards emotional intelligence, or coming from my own experiences. But I'm going to be the first to say this. The world in itself, humanity, has suffered and is suffering from multiple personality disorders. And my interpretation from that, someone who has multiple personalities, or, not knowing, having this different persona. If you look in Latin, I believe the word persona is literally like mask. So that being said, let me jump right into this. I was just discussing with someone the importance of realizing how, if we don't really know the authentic versions of ourselves, or really know how to be ourselves, then we literally have this different persona around everyone else. Now, some spiritual people may use, well, no, I'm not going to jump in. That's a whole other subject. Let me stay on topic. But again, from my interpretation and from my, just analysis, my own experience, I do feel the world and the collective, and as an individual who has, I can say, suffered, but at the same time more so coming to this deeper awareness on what multiple personality disorder is for me. And when I say disorder, that means something that's not in order, something that's out of place or imbalance. So, for instance, you have a child developmental stage early when we're young, the first couple of years of our life, correct? So with that, you also have, into adulthood, where we have developed this childlike or behavior patterns, whether it's self-sabotaging or whether it just leads us to a place of which awareness is, self-awareness is learning more about ourselves. That being said, again, from my own experience, I can see as a child, from certain behavior patterns that I've learned, how I developed this persona, this personality, this belief system around the world, around myself, around, you follow me here. These multiple personalities, and I'm gonna use this in layers. Again, this persona of being a darker man in the country, and then it almost seems like the agony, the suffering that comes from that. Okay, not just that, then just being a man, the personality or the persona or the development around that. And where I'm getting at is like, we're so easily judgmental and so easily swayed or easily want to judge people for their stories and don't really know the depths or the root of what their belief system is. So it's almost like someone who's doesn't look like me at all. And the personality, the persona that they develop. Let's just say persona is just like a software update or a programming per se. That being said, I told myself, I'm like, whoa. I've used this term before, like the world is suffering from, or the collective or individually or people are going through an identity crisis. Meaning, again, how I connect that to multiple personality disorders. Take, for instance, it's like you have someone such as myself. If you don't know how to be who you are, if you don't know what it is to have an authentic relationship with yourself or have been around people, and let's say you grew up with a mother who was in a certain demographic and you saw how she was treated by men, or you just saw her upbringing. Again, I literally develop a personality around that. Now you follow me? You develop some type of programming, or you inherit some type of information, basically. So if you're around this person long enough, like they say, birds of a feather flock together, or you'll start to pick up on, whether nonverbal cues or their behaviors. So then, let's say you with your mother, some of you, I don't know your circumstances, let's say you grew up in a 2-parent home. Your personality development stage, or your childhood development will be completely different. It's common sense than someone who grew up in a single-parent home. So their persona or their way of trying to act or be, we know will be completely different than someone who grew up in a 2-parent home. So where I was getting at is how I've noticed this way back when with people, how they will act one way around someone. Let's say, especially, let's use this reference of high school and stuff like that. Let's say people who are jockeys or football players, basketball players, whatever it is, and they literally have this personality around, or this idea around that. And so popularity comes in and da-da-da-da-da. And then they're one way in school. But then when they get home, they're a whole different person. When they're in church, when they go to, when certain people go on their job, I'm just going in the flow of things. When they go on certain careers, there's a different persona. There's a different person or different version of them. And this is where I feel like a lot of people aren't aware that they suffer from multiple personality disorder. The disorder comes in is when they're not literally being who they are. Whether that's the highest version of them, the most authentic version, the version of them where they don't have to feel shame and guilt. So, and let's say you grew up around a parent or someone who did not have the best actions or behavior patterns and so forth, and you develop this personality of hiding things or feeling shame or guilt when you are in their presence, let alone when you're around family or friends or something, you give off this completely different personality. So again, the disorder is not really being who you are. And so that's what I've noticed when I see with certain relatives or certain people, where they'll act a total different way when they get around someone. They give off this certain, and sometimes we unconsciously do this because of what we have developed in our childhoods, or just naturally being in the presence of people. of authority, especially, who you don't even know who these people are personally, been around them personally, but yet they can have so much, you give them so much of your attention and power just because they're some type of authoritative political or hold some type of authoritative position in your life. And, you know, that's just saying, like, the first authoritative figures in your life are going to be your caretakers. So your first development, or who you become, and or who, you know, how you develop this personality, or your first trauma bond and or authentic bond, is going to be learned through that parent, caregiver, or it's going to be learned through them, or it's going to be learned through, you know, pretty much, you know, that's going to be the beginning stage of that. Other than that, you know, you asking yourself, like, you know, when you really sit down, who are you? Who have you become? Like I said, this is my perspective. I feel like a lot of people suffer from multiple personality disorder or an identity crisis is because they've had to be so many other people but themselves. So this is why I can feel like being authenticity is a threat to societal norms, to societal constructs, to corporations, to businesses that uphold, again, they want you to give this certain personality. You know, it's almost like, because I want to be careful with using, I'm going to say certain corporations that, you know, that's very famous for certain cartoons and movies. You know, how could I reference this? That knee, this knee, if you catch my drill. And one thing I've noticed about that is that sometimes we unconsciously develop a pattern of, again, when I'm talking about multiple personality disorders and the mental illness that's at stake here, I'm referencing something like when I'm talking about internalized racism. That's a great one. Or structural racism. There are literally people who have developed a persona. And I told you in Latin that means mask. They literally have developed a persona and literally uphold this persona. It's almost like being possessed with something, but you can only see things on a physical level, but not know the underlining of what really is that person, you know, what they're really hiding. So it's like a mask. And that's the thing about how the veil is being lifted, those that, you know, what I'm speaking about spiritually, where nothing can be hidden no more. Meaning that it doesn't matter what people have and the persona that they try to uphold, or this, you know, what is that term used? TV personality, you know, stuff like that. It's like there is a thing where, again, we're learning so young. I've even seen, you know, little girls, you know, watch a movie, and depending on their age, depending on how young they are, you know, they're seeing certain things happen on the movie. And literally what's so important about this is that I was telling someone also the importance of even our childhood development is that there's a study that talks about between the age 8 what they call 18 months or like a year and 4 years of age, there is something where during that time we literally, you know, a lot of you caregivers or parents can relate to this, is that when you say something, your child literally like a sponge. They pick up on everything, or they mirror back to you everything. And there literally is the book, The Body Keeps a Score. And there literally, I don't know the term, but it talks about this, like how there's a certain thing in the brain that literally mirror backs. That's why, again, you will hear kids, you will see them watch something, or you see them be around the parent, and they literally like soaking up everything, and they literally repeat a what some people may call curse word. They'll repeat something, they'll do something, and we don't even realize, like, it goes as deep as what happened with a lot of people during that time. So for a lot of you, if you went through sexual traumas, a lot of you that went through some type of abuse, verbally and certain things, and we wonder why into teenage or adulthood, we literally reenact these things. And that's the thing. We develop a persona. We develop a personality. That's why these movies and certain things, this is why a lot of shit has been exposed, because when we realize how important it is, our inner child and what's being restored and what we're being restored with, we're realizing, like, a lot of things has a lot to do with, we're literally reenacting certain things, certain experiences in our life until we literally become conscious, aware of it. We're literally reenacting things. And so, that being said, that age in itself, from 18 months or whatever, to 4, and even after that until 7, where again a lot of us around the age of 7 we become more self-sufficient. Where we're able to put on certain clothing or do certain things, be more self-sufficient. The first 7 years are very vital. And so again, the importance of all of this is, like, again, these children already developed something in the wombs of the mothers, and then they're coming out here visually learning it. So this is why I realized, like, when little girls, especially, why youth are targeted so young, they're literally soaking up everything around them. So they're developing child development, or they're developing this persona. They're literally developing who it is they are, taking it, processing it, and literally reenacting it. That's it. It's literally like a programming. So now all this is shattered, and then now we're coming into this awareness, like, oh my gosh, now I see why these kids, if it's thrown in their face about this and that, and then they got to be like this, and then you have adults now, some of them who aren't even aware, which I realize that grace comes in to where their programming or what they grew up in, they knew nothing. Like, do you not, the importance of all this is, like, the thing I speak about wellness so much is because I first recognize the shit within myself, and then I bring it to y'all, and just to bring awareness to the collective. Like, my mother or father would never speak about things like this. Or I know people personally in a certain demographics where it's almost like we don't even realize how much we've been studied on, like, just in all corporations, in all these things, whether medically, schools, and so forth, like being studied, analyzed, seeing how whatever, intelligence, it's so many things. And when you really look at the details of grading and how people do this and how they, man, I'm telling you, in certain demographics, I remember personally, people growing up, and they would literally reenact what they saw in their home. And so immediately the solution to that would be, put the child on Ritalin, or put them on, get them ADHD medicine. And y'all gotta realize this has been a fucking deep programming to immediately put people in some type of medication rather than getting them some type of real genuine support. Sometimes that child just need to be set the fuck down without being whooped and spanked and abused, and literally just talk therapy, counseling, something, implementing more healthy and holistic approaches before we just dope them up, cuz a lot of us, I went through that. I literally went through that. And I saw cousins, I saw people who literally went through that shit. Literally. Because their mother and them couldn't understand and comprehend themselves, so they immediately, let's just give them this. Yes. Because they couldn't do nothing with them. Because they didn't, again, this goes back to well-being. This goes back to mama and them never had time to take care of themselves or be there for themselves, and mama didn't have support, and the importance of all this, when there is no mother, matriarchal, healthy matriarchal, which I've talked about how the divine mother is rising and the divine father as well, but a healthy aspect, a healthy matriarchal, all these things where it talks about imbalances, and this is your multiple personality disorder. This is your systems that have been in place to keep people in a place of not realizing that, for one, you are way more advanced as what's been told to you. You are always been intelligent. You have common sense. You are loved. You are reflections of the Creator. Like so many great things before we are told that we're failures and dumb. And again, developing this narrative that does not uphold in the importance of self-esteem and empowerment, self-improvement. There's nothing about really that's implemented about self-improvement, self-sufficiency, which again starts very young with the mother, the importance of the mother. Mama is the first teacher, so she's teaching us that the importance of self-development. She's the first caretaker. She's the first teacher. So when you don't have this implemented in the corporations, the importance of upholding the value of women, of a woman, of a mother, instead of attacking her anatomy, her archetype, and everything that it represents, and removing everything that the mother is and represents. This is where you have, again, so much confusion around male deities, or so much around like upholding things that literally is just sitting around men. And that's a whole nother development process of, again, people developing a persona around this shit. Your pastors, your preachers, your popes, your judicial system, everything that literally puts males in a superior complex, no balance between feminine and masculine energy. So again, people develop a persona around this. They develop a personality. Women develop inferiority, identity around even being who they are at a young age, especially if mama did not have a balanced life with her masculine and femininity, especially if a lot of them grew up in certain religious constructs, that they develop a personality where the father was looked at as a superiority, or the mother not being implemented in a lot of things, and upholding that, where you really saw where women were empowered. Again, multiple personality disorders, where all these structures from when you're young into childhood, and then when you go into certain things where, again, the father this, the man that, the man makes more. Man, everything. When you look at your corporations, the things that have been implemented, how money, the personality around money, how, it's a feminine principle, and the currency, the emotion, the waters, how everything has been used to literally put in place for a lot of people to develop a mindset around whether, where it makes women feel like they're inferior to men, or they're less valuable. And again, women have developed a personality around that. So that being said, they're in conflict with really being who they are, and develop multiple personalities from a young age around that shit, which has all been exposed. So again, when I say the world, is suffering from that, it's a real thing, folks. This is what awakening is all about. Yep. I had questions very young. Very, very young. questioning things very, very young about this and that, and you know, so many things. So again, there's so many things around what we're seeing shift, and also the importance of mental well-being, physical well-being, and so forth. How some people still are searching for a character or certain people to save them, to each their own, and don't never question that why didn't this person return at a certain time in their life or their mother's life, and why this message been, again, a lot of things. I'm gonna go into a part 2 about this too, because that's gonna be very important. Again, where you see the rise and especially the rise and the truth being televised, you know, the beauty of what's playing out here and what's being restored. Because again, we don't even, a lot of us don't even realize how much we have developed so many personalities on who, how, and what to be other than our fucking selves. And now the beauty of all this is we have an opportunity now to be an authentic version of ourselves, to develop an authentic version of ourselves and no longer trauma bond. Because when I look at multiple personality disorder, that means there's not order in place for everyone to be who they are. There was never nothing in place for people to be who they are. So now things are being restored. Of course, people won't realize, like, the same way that energy and these constructs were built is the same way it has to go out. It has to be exposed for what it is. The mental well-being, the physical well-being of humanity. And seeing, like, I told myself, I'm not even mad at what's been happening, because I'm like, it's all divinely orchestrated. It's truthfully all divinely orchestrated. And we want to be mad or be angry at certain people when literally these so-called leaders, people that y'all put in position, has a lot to do with, it reflects your own insecurities, reflects your own inner dialogue in a way. That these certain things that you're seeing playing out literally reflects what you give your energy to, and what you are afraid to expose within yourself, what you hide within yourself, and so forth. Like, no one can be more honest with themselves. No one can be more honest to you other than you. What am I trying to say? Yeah. We expect others outside of us to be honest with us rather than it starting with ourselves. Y'all want honesty and truth from corporations and businesses that you have developed so much of a persona, or you develop so much of a attachment to emotionally, that you can't even tell the difference between the truth and a lie when it's right in front of you, because you don't even know how to be honest with your fucking self. So that awakening or whatever it is that's happening is you coming into the reality that it's been you all along, and you're honest, you learning and developing an authentic relationship with yourself. You're asking of people who have also been in deep programming. You're asking of corporations. You're asking of business, of people that are in positions to be honest with you when you're literally there to be in your authentic self, just to expose this shit. And not to take it personally, and keep it moving, and keep loving yourself and the versions of you. Because the only thing I see as multiple personality disorder is to learn, like, who you really are, what you have developed, who you develop with, and why you don't even know how to be who you are around everybody else, and you shy away, you know. Or these personas I perceive as versions of yourself that you hide away from the world, or you've been running from yourself. Whether that's a traumatic experience, whether that is an experience that you're not, you know, so embracing of, just so you can be authentic, just so you can get in order with yourself, instead of keep running from the version of you that you hide so well from everyone else. That's why authenticity is such a threat in humanity. That's why being you is such a threat in those spaces. That's why when you were young, you just being you, sent from source or the God, creator, whatever you want to call it. That's why being you was so attacked by a mother and a father, because they never knew how to be themselves. That's why. If you ever wonder, that's why. So if you're ever wondering, that's why. Because you've been around people who don't know how to be themselves. And I ain't mad at you. You don't need to be mad at yourself, though. So yeah, that's my spiel. I do feel like, yeah, most of humanity collectively, whether we want to ignore it or not, we all have went through some shit and realizing, like, yeah, somehow, some way, when we're not being our authentic self, that's literally some type of you see the discomfort, dis-ease, and that is displayed right on people's faces, whether they don't even say it or not. You can literally feel it. And so, yeah. And now you're seeing a dismantle of that, because we can no longer uphold such things. Oh wow, I thought I got off on the wrong thing and ended up coming right where I needed to be. I say. But yeah, so what better to be than you? What better to be than you? Because who can threaten you? Who can come against anything that you're doing? Nobody. Nobody, baby. What is that got going on there? What is that? Definitely might have to check that out today. But yeah. Who better to be than you? I'm telling you, I had to come into this shit and realize, like, wow, mind blown. But then again, it's like, it's a beauty. Instead of trying to be something that I know that I'm not happy with. I know I'm not happy with. Like, what? My mom and dad, well, you need to be this, you need to go to this, you need to do that. But what about me? What about, can I think for myself? Can I be who I am instead of years? A lot of us, we got to give ourselves grace. We're talking about years and years and years of learning. Years and years of learning, gaining this programming, awareness around how the world say we should be. And it's like, when I sit here and look, when I see people dressed the same, when I see people doing everything the same, instead of seeing the importance of not just the beauty of your individualism, but the totality of how beautiful it is for you to be who you are. Why isn't that a norm? What's normal about being like other people? I don't want to be the next this. I don't want to be the next somebody else that ain't even my name, or that don't even reflect. What? Why I need to be the next one? I want to be the next me. I don't want to be the next this person or that person. They already came here, lived their life, or even if they still in the physical, they who they are. Why I want to be the next such and such? I won't ever teach kids that. Because again, you're asking them to invest so much energy into trying to work hard, develop this, do this, so you can get to where that person is, when their journey is never the same. Some people are born into certain things. Some people go through other things that you have no idea how they got there. So for us to tell our kids and give them these systems that have been in place that are dismantling because it doesn't uphold anything authentic. And this is where you see your multiple personalities developed. This is where you see, the discomfort and dis-ease in so many things. This is where you see it. And now you have people questioning everything about themselves. And that's okay. Questioning. When you go through, some people call it awakening, or you come into whatever it is, everything is questioned. You have to question everything. And that's okay. Just to come into a deeper awareness of who you are, what you're here to do, and enjoy this experience through the lens of the Creator. Observe. So that's my spiel. So yeah, I'm gonna call it out. We all have, everybody, whether they knowingly or not, unconsciously, we all have fucking suffer from some type of mental disorder or mental illness when we're really not being ourselves. Because we have taken on the narrative, we have been so deeply programmed that this is, oh, you gotta be this, or you're not normal, or you're or you're this. How do we not acknowledge the disorder in that, the discomfort, the dis-ease in trying to be something that we're not even happy with? Peace and bliss and shalom.